this. Although I guess if you're not watching and if you're watching it in the future, you don't care. But I try to schedule these a little ahead of time to give you a little bit of a warning that they're coming, but that did not happen today. So taking the time to get started again and get going and caught up after visiting my son over the weekend, and also a busy week of launching my book last week. So my newest book, Jesus Doesn't Care About Your Messy House, it's available wherever books are sold. Like, it's available now, right? Like, it's out. Pre-orders are over. It is out there. So if you are, searching, anytime you search for anything by me, always put the K in there, Dana K. White, any kind of subject matter that you're interested in. If it has to do with home and decluttering, it is very likely that I have answered it in the past. And you can go to, so Googling whatever it is you're wanting to know and Dana K. White, there's a good chance that you're going to find something about that. So, but always put the K in there. Otherwise it's harder to find me. But yeah, so the new book is out. Yes, it is spiritually focused. Jesus is in the title so that nobody is blindsided by that. But I've been loving hearing from those of you who have read it. And that's wonderful. You can also tell that I'm in my sweats today. And that's like, because we're friends, I was telling my husband recently when I was so exhausted from all of the interviews that I was doing for the new book, I was like, I think the saddest thing to me is I haven't been able to wear sweats to work like I like to when it's cold, because we don't get tons of cold weather here in Texas. And so I was having to look a little nicer for interviews. But y'all are my people. So, you already know me. Yes. And it is cold in Illinois. That's actually recently I was just there and it was very, very cold. Okay. So, yes, it's a sweat day. So I am going to answer your questions here. Like I said, I just kind of came on. I'm busy catching up. I'm also working on the next book. So I was out and about doing that because I work away from my house on that, something about the brain thing, that will be in the book. But I just ran in here real quickly to do this. And so I will take questions from those of you who are watching live. I will most likely, at other times, I do take questions that were asked ahead of time. And you can ask those at askdanakWhite.com. And, this is kind of a low day today. Anyway. All right. If you would like to ask a question, go ahead and put question marks at the beginning. So let's see. Didn't get to start the new book yet, but loved the preview chapters. Got my book last week, but you had shoulder surgery. So happy for you and your new book. Thank you. It's been really, really, really fun. Let's see. Thank you. Okay. Those of y'all who would like to ask questions, put question marks at the beginning of your question. I know y'all are all just being lovely and kind. And sharing things, but I do want to get to your questions. When are the announcements about the 6 sessions? For those of you who pre-ordered, this is giving me, okay. For those of you who pre-ordered, actually, technically, I haven't set them out yet. So if you filled out your pre-order information at aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus, right now, I hate to say that because people are watching this in the future and it will be too late at some point, but we will be sending those out tomorrow. The times and the links for those sessions. So those we'll send those out tomorrow, and it will be the following week that those are going to come out, that those are going to be held, right? So I wanted to give people time to actually start reading the book so that we can have the conversation around the book. It's not just a general Q&A. It's specifically talking about the book itself. Yay. Thank you. Cheryl says your new book is fantastic. Love all your books. Thank you so much. Let's see. Still need to let y'all know I got it via Audible. Yeah. If you haven't filled out the pre-order bonus thing, I always try to make sure anyway, and I don't know what you're saying, but if this is what you're saying, but you have to fill out the pre-order bonus information or you can't, or you're not going to get the invitation, right? I don't know who ordered where, because the the retailers are just retailers, right? Like they are just retailers and they sell it, but they don't send any information about you to us, like about who did it. Okay. I have a technical question each week. I have to search and search to find the live broadcast. Is there a way to get notifications so I won't be able to miss? I know that some people have shared on here before. Like somebody was saying that you have to enable it both on your desktop and on your phone to get the notifications in two different places. I don't know that information. I'm not a YouTube expert by any means. I will tell you that there are a lot of times where I don't let you know ahead of time. Okay. Because I just don't because like I always say, it's not guaranteed I'm going to be on here Tuesdays at noon, but I do try to be, right? And like when I'm able to, I'll try to schedule it, even if it's 15 minutes ahead of time, just to kind of, I don't know how, but some people end up finding out about that, right? Because I'll have people commenting and stuff. So those of y'all in the comments, you're much better at helping each other know how to know about that. Okay, let's see. Caitlin asked, can we see pictures of you as a cheerleader and a basketball player? No pressure. I think I put and she's asking because there's stories in the new book about me playing basketball, which was, yeah. I think I actually have a cheerleader picture of me. I think it on the blog. I think it was a sponsored post, maybe about toilet paper or something years ago when I would do I was trying to figure out how to monetize and I would do stuff like that. I am half reading your new book. It's wonderful, but question, how many books do you want to write? What advice would you give others writing a guidebook oneself? Okay. So, I don't know. Every time, and I hear this from a lot of authors, like every time I write a book and finish writing a book, I basically think that's it. I don't have no more words. I don't have no more words. I have no more words. And so, I mean, I'm currently in the midst of a 4-book contract. So there will be 3 more books coming out after this one. But those are the ideas I have. And I have no idea after that, but I also know enough to know that who knows, right? Like who knows what's coming. But as far as book advice, it's so different for all different people. And it's like, it's different when you've built the blog and all that kind of stuff and the platform and everything. I do have if you go to my website, aslobcomesclean.com, and you look under, I don't know, it's something with resources or something like that at the top, or maybe, I forget what the word is, but if you Google if you play around on the menu bar, you'll see, I do have a book publishing journey thing that I did, and it is a paid thing because I give like some behind the scenes personal information, but I do have that kind of talks about how I did that. I am not the person to like teach you how to do it, but I love talking about it. Like it's so fun to me to talk about it. And I love, I talk with my personal friends and things like that whenever they want to hear it. But yeah, let's see. I just ordered the book off Amazon. Does that count? If you will go and fill out the form like ASAP, because we're going to be sending out those emails tomorrow. So we would have to have those by tomorrow at aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus. Yes. But not just by ordering on Amazon, only by filling out the form, right? Like we don't know who ordered where or when or how or anything about them. Okay. Let's see a question. Hi, Dana. We're friends. I got your book and I love what you have read so far. Is there an address if we wanted to send something? There is an address on my, I have a business PO box that is on the bottom of my newsletters that go out. So if you're a member of my newsletter, you would have it there. I don't know off the top of my head. Let's see. You made me cry while listening to the Audible, and then I am in the Now You're My New Best Friend, same page. I love it. Let's see. Okay, this looks like a question. So I have around 90 days to try and find and pack only what my 10-year-old daughter needs, or that I can limit to a few tubs. Oh, I'm so sorry. Main issue, house is full of miscellaneous tubs in RM. I'm not sure what that means, in every room. Don't care about anything that can be replaced, but how do I look at these in amount of time? Okay, so it sounds like you are in I'm going to take your picture off there just for your own safety, but it sounds like you are in a hurried, stressful situation. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story of someone else who sent me an email one time and was in a much less stressful version of the situation that you're in right now. Okay. And that is, they found out they were moving, and I think it was overseas. And so there was not a lot of space for moving, and it was a very short period of time. So what I recommend is really embrace the container concept, because I know, especially in the state of mind that you are in, you're frazzled. Okay. You're very frazzled. I am one of those people who gets more frazzled more easily than other people, it feels like sometimes. And so my strategies have been developed by me to help myself in those situations where I am like, there's so much, it's like, how do I zero in? Well, the container concept helps me do that. So the limited amount of space that you have, what I would do is just view that as your container. So it's like, this is the amount of space. So most important things first. So as opposed to space by space, packing, think of the container. This is the amount of space that I have. So think of it as most important things in there first. Okay, let's see. My house is complete chaos and cluttered stress. Overconsumed and bought things for my personal therapy after losing everything in a house fire. After dishes, where do I start for the biggest bang? Got a lot of situations this week. I'm sorry that you went through that. Okay, so what I would recommend is that you go to, I'm glad that it sounds like the dishes are under control. If you're thinking ahead, because I know this happens a lot of times with my people. If you're thinking ahead on, okay, I get that I'm supposed to start with the dishes, but what am I gonna do after that? I would recommend that you really zero in on dishes first before you even worry about that, right? But once you're working on the dishes today, and then what am I gonna do the next that's gonna have the biggest impact? Go to the entrance to your home, girls. Go to the entrance to your home and where people would actually enter, and start decluttering there. I know it feels like, but there's a closet that I have been shoving stuff in for 6 months. You can declutter anywhere, right? But you're asking specifically, like, what do I do to get the biggest bang for my buck, the biggest impact on my home? It is decluttering in the most visible space. Okay. If you start in the most visible space, you are going to, if you are following my no mess process, right? Like, make sure you are following my no mess process. If you're new here, go watch the video on that. Get Decluttering at the Speed of Life. Listen to that while you work. It's one of my books that's on everywhere books are sold. Really zero in on that. Get the printable at aslobcomesclean.com/5. Like, that 5-step process is really powerful in a visible space. It's powerful everywhere, but start in a visible space. Use that process so you never create a bigger mess, right? And you will make real, actual, visible progress in that space. And then what that's going to do is, like you said that the trauma of losing your house in a fire, then there was this, overbuying that happened later, right? Like, visibly experiencing your house starting to change is also going to affect your brain again in a positive way. Okay. I am not a mental health professional. I'm just telling you, this is what happens, right? So you start to see the impact of this work that you're doing in this space, and you start to live, and you go, oh, it was easier to open my front door when my friend showed up. I was not embarrassed when I had to sign for a package and I had to open the front door. Every time I walk into my house, or I walk by that space, if that's not the place where I actually enter, I notice the impact of that space being decluttered. It will then encourage you and inspire you to declutter again sooner. Go to the next most visible space, because working in those visible spaces, the places where you actually live, is going to have so much impact in actually changing your home, because it will actually change you as well. Let's see. I want to have less in my craft room. Can y'all hear me okay? Because I just realized, I bet you I'm on the wrong microphone. But can y'all hear me? I guess you'd tell me if you couldn't. Oh, well. So let's see. I have less in my craft room, so I am not overwhelmed by the quantity, even though everything does have a space. You want to have less so you won't be overwhelmed, right? I want to pack lesser used stuff. Is there a way to make that work? Yeah, like it sounds like you're wanting to pack up lesser used things. So what you would do is you'd say, these lesser used things, if my craft room was the way that I wanted it, where would I look first for my lesser used things, right? Like, is that going to be, okay, we have an extra storage closet over here, and that's where I'm going to put, that's where not where I'm going to put it, but where would I look for it if my craft room only held the stuff that I use consistently all the time in order for me to be able to handle it better, right? So you put all this into the sentence, and you go, where, if this craft room was what I'm envisioning, where would I look first for these other lesser used things? And then you take them to that space and you face the reality of that space. So let's say it is, well, there's a shelf where I would look for them in the basement, okay. And I know we don't all have basements. I don't have a basement either. They always feel magical to me, but I know y'all tell me they're not. But that shelf in the basement, that's where I would look for these lesser used items. So you take it there now and you face the reality of that shelf. Because sometimes what you'll do is you'll get down there and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot that I did this exact same process 10 years ago and stuck a bunch of things down there, and those things have never been used, and it'll change and shift your thinking about it. So you go, okay, well, this stuff, is this actually more important than this? And am I willing to get rid of that in order to make the space for it? And then that space is the limit, right? And so as you are working in your craft room, every time you come across some stuff that you're like, you know what, this is a lesser used thing, I now have already established, because I already answered the question, where would I look for my lesser used things if this craft room was in the state that I wanted it to be in? And you take it down there now, and then it helps to sort out, like, it keeps it from being this never ending thing. Like, because what happens for people like me is we go, that's what I need to do. I need to have a different space for my lesser used things, right? And so we're like, yeah, that's it. And then you start working in your craft room. Oh, this is lesser used, and this is lesser used, and this is lesser used, and this is lesser used. And I'm going to do that. And I'm like, oh, that's full now, so I'm going to add another one. No, we let it be the limit, because then it helps me sort out, is it really lesser used? Like, does it deserve space in this place where I would look for lesser used things? Or is it just, I don't want to get rid of it? And it helps to sort out the difference there, right? Like, what are the things that deserve space because, yeah, they deserve space there, versus the things that I'm like, oh, I just didn't want to get rid of that, but it doesn't fit. And it just kind of naturally sorts that out. So let's see. Kathy is asking, where do I get the form? aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus. Okay. All right. You did not miss the live. You're here live, Reximoto. Okay. Let's see. Ideas for balancing teaching a toddler to help with a daily 5-minute pickup versus actually getting stuff done during the 5 minutes. You may have to do 2 separate ones for that. They kind of have different purposes. Like, that's one of the things I always tell moms is like that, those first 5-minute pickups, you're not going to get a lot of stuff done. You're going to be guiding and teaching and reminding, because a toddler, the beautiful thing about that is they might actually be excited, but when they're older and you're teaching them, they're not excited. And also their leg hurts. I mean, what's the deal with legs hurting, right? Like, I know they sometimes really do hurt, but like, you know what I mean though? That's just, so yeah, I would say it would be a separate thing. It'd be a separate thing. Like, we're going to do 5 minutes. and do what you can while they're working. And then you'll find over time, oh, I'm actually getting a little bit done during these 5 minutes because now they know what to do. But yeah, in the beginning, it definitely is you teaching, and then just do your own later at another time. How tall are you if you play basketball? So you're going to have to read the book, because I did not. I was on the varsity basketball as a freshman in high school. And that is not actually impressive when you read the story in the book. So anyway, okay, let's see. Oh, that makes me happy. I was in a totally unrelated YouTube live and out of the blue got into a discussion with other people who were raving about you. I'm assuming you, me. Were your ears ringing? No, I was not. They were not, but thank you. I love that. Spread the word. I come from Germany and I'm thinking about coaching, decluttering other people. Right now, I sadly can't afford your class and certificate. What and where would you recommend me to start my coaching journey? I mean, I would just start offering to friends, like offering to help them just to get some experience in that, for sure. Okay, let's see. I decluttered more than 50% of my stuff, but I feel like I've hit a roadblock when it comes to my personal items. Even though I still have a lot, I can't seem to let go of my things anymore. Really go hard on that container concept. Okay. So, if it's personal items and you're like, oh, all these personal items are shoved in this on this shelf and it's tumbling and falling, whatever. Okay. Go hard on the container concept. Again, always start with trash, because that starts to get your brain like, oh, actually, yeah, this, like, it feels like, oh, these are all personal now, but go with the 5-step process, go through them. But as you get to the container concept, feel the feelings. Like, I think that's the beauty of the container concept. When I get to blame the size of the shelf or the size of the drawer or the size of the bin or whatever, it lets me feel the feelings. And I love it how I don't love it. I remember it wasn't that long ago, somebody said something about, well, Dana's process doesn't want me to use emotions. And I'm like, oh, we don't use emotions to declutter. But because we don't use emotions to declutter, we are allowed to feel the emotions. Okay. It allows me to feel them, because here's what happens. When I knew that my stuff was all overwhelming and I couldn't stand it and I had to get rid of things, I mean, I knew I needed to declutter, right? But if I was using my emotions and how I felt about something to declutter, then it felt like the way to declutter was to squash the emotion, right? Like, if I was looking at something and this thing was so meaningful to me, but the fact was everything was meaningful and I had to get rid of some stuff, then it was like, it felt like the answer was for it to not be meaningful, which then was this like self-defeating process, because it was meaningful to me, right? But when I blame the container, I'm like, I am not saying that this is not memorable, that this isn't meaningful to me. It is meaningful to me. It does mean something to me. But the fact is that the space is the size that it is, and I want my space to be able to be under control. And if I keep more stuff than I have space for it, there is no hope of it ever being under control, right? And so I stick with the facts, but that lets me feel the feelings, okay? Go watch the video where my husband and I were decluttering mugs. And in that video, we're talking through it and he understands the process, right? Because we've worked on our house a lot. But he specifically, I said something about, okay, so this is your less favorite. He has so much emotional attachment to his mugs, but the size of our shelf is the size of our shelf. And so he had bought a new mug on vacation. He was like, I think I know which one I'm going to get rid of. And I was like, oh, you look so cute right now. But it was, he specifically said, thank you for letting me say this is a less favorite, because then I don't feel like I am rejecting this item by getting rid of it. Okay. All right, let's see. I'm finally using my dishwasher more. How do I stop the habit of having to pre-wash dishes that go into the dishwasher? How dirty is okay for the dishwasher? I think it does vary per dishwasher, like different dishwashers are different. But here's what I will say is two things. Make sure that you are using the more expensive dishwashing detergent, which is going to be your tabs or your pods or whatever. Those are going to work better. And I've written about it before, but I went to a years ago, like it's maybe been 10 years now, but I went to a tour of the Maytag labs, and they were talking about, you know, the dishwasher and their design of it and everything. But then they would, but then I forget what they would say. Like, that's chemistry. Like, it kind of, you know, there's also the factor of chemistry. And they just said, they didn't give a recommendation of which ones to use. They just said that there was a change in the law about, you know, what could be included in dishwashing liquid or powder or whatever. And at the same time that law was changed, the pods and tabs and those little, you know, little individual things had been invented. And because of that, they put all of their science, all of their research for figuring out how to get these to work without the phosphates or whatever ingredient it was that had been banned. They were putting it into those because those were popular. And so they were just like, that's where this is. So make sure you're using the more expensive ones. I know that's hard. I'm so cheap. I'm so cheap. But when they told me that and I went home and I tried it, I was like, oh, it makes a humongous difference. The other thing is to, if you're having issues, and this is something that I don't think I said in my how to make the most of your dishwasher video because it wasn't an issue before, but what we have realized lately, our dishwasher was not doing a great job. And I was like, and so I tried what I'd heard other people say, which is to make sure that the water, like to run the faucet next to the dishwasher, run it until it is hot coming out of there, and then start the dishwasher. Don't love doing that because I feel like it wastes water, but that's a good time to fill the dog's, you know, pitcher to go fill their bowl and all that. But yeah. How do you stop the habit? I would say try scraping instead of washing. And then try those other things. Like, I'm a real big fan of non-committal experimentation, meaning say, I'm going to see. So stopping a habit, the information from experience, not information from just what I've read, but also from experience of seeing, like, just see. I'm going to see. Okay. So this one plate, I'm going to leave this one plate and see if it gets as clean as the others. And that will help you. Yay. I'm under my clutter threshold, but struggle with how to deal with dog toys. I do keep them rotated and I keep them down to 2 containers. I'm just feeling a bit guilty sometimes. Any tips? If you're under your clutter threshold, and you have them down to 2 containers, like if you're under your clutter threshold, which means they're not getting out of control, right? If they're not getting out of control, then maybe let the guilt go. You know, I mean, like, I know sometimes, you know, the internet being the way that it is, you can have things come across your, like, you know, your dog doesn't need this many toys or whatever. I don't know. But really focus on clutter threshold and say, I can maintain this. Now, if they're driving you crazy, that's a different situation, right? And that's when you get rid of the least favorites until, you know, like, because we always declutter to the container first and then the clutter threshold, meaning if it's still getting out of control, then we need less stuff. But if it is staying under control, then let go of the guilt. Okay, let's see. Preach it, Dana, the most visible space. No one will notice if I clean out the file cabinet first. I'm glad I realized that when I started. Yes, exactly. Let's see. I'm good at knowing where things are. I have trouble asking myself, where would I look for this? Because I would look for it in the bizarre place I had it, even though that's not the ideal place. Yeah, I think idealism is I think it's one of the biggest problems for people like me. Like, I think it might be an issue of, you know what, this is a bizarre place, but it's where I would look for it. And so for my house to function, that's what I'm prioritizing here. And so you go, it is a weird place. Who cares? Like that was actually big for me. You know, when I came up with those questions, that was what I went through. I was like, but they're not supposed to go here, but they're where I would look for it first. But that's not what my grandma did. And what if somebody said, and I was like, you know what? I am going to just say the way we function in our home is the best way because it's how we function in our home. And that's the goal, right? Is to be able to function. Okay, good. Y'all are saying I sound okay. Okay. Let's see. Thank you. It's been a few years and just lost my ma and got some of her new stuff now too. We have a storage unit. We still have a storage unit. I just listened to your other books and love them. Love it. Okay. Let's see. Have you ever made materials about how to apply the 5-step process to a larger project, like cleaning a preschool? We have 60 years of stuff and I'm sure we could make improvements. No, I don't know that I've specifically done that. I did do I think my first 1 hour better was with my friend who's an SLP. And SLPs have so much stuff. Speech language pathologists. Because they just, it's the job you should have if you want to be able to have lots of stuff. Because like she did, but so it was, you know, there was just tons and tons of stuff and we went through it. But the same process will work, you know, because especially if you're talking about 60 years of stuff, there's trash in there, you know. So even just giving yourself permission to look for the 60 years of stuff is really powerful. And then go through the process. I became paralyzed when I go to get started decluttering and look at all the crap. I just start crying and then go sit on the couch and watch a movie. Any tips on overcoming this? Absolutely. So, first of all, I would recommend that you read Decluttering at the Speed of Life. Listen to it if you want to. You can listen to it while you're on a walk, while you're driving, while you're decluttering, whatever. Like, so I totally get it because your story is my story. Like that is my story. That's what sent me to rock bottom that got me to this point, you know, where I started writing about this, not to teach it in the beginning. Now I teach it, but in the beginning I was just figuring it out. Right. So you might go read my blog from the beginning at aslobcomesclean.com. But yeah, the way to overcome this is to not think of it as getting started decluttering, but think of it as I'm just going to throw away trash. If there's any trash. Okay. Separating out the steps is part of what's powerful. That is important to separate out the steps. So say I'm not decluttering today. I am looking for trash. That happens to be the first step of Dana K. White's No Mess Decluttering process. But that's all I'm doing today is looking for trash. If there isn't any, then I won't have to do anything. But there is something about looking for trash. And when I say trash, I am not saying the things that other people would say is trash, that you have a reason why it's not trash to you. I'm saying look to see if there is any obvious to you trash. Because even if you don't find anything, which you will, but even if you don't find anything, it's going to start shifting in your brain from it's a pile of so much stuff to now I know what's there. Part of what's overwhelming and causes that decluttering paralysis is not knowing what you're going to be dealing with. It's the unknown. You take away the unknown when you start looking for trash. Okay. Let's see. The craft rooms have become craft tombs since the election, and I'm trying to turn some kits into finished objects and move them out. Would a declutter serve better to revitalize inspiration? I think that here's what I would do. I would go through the first 3 steps, at least, of the decluttering process. And then, yes, start working on the stuff. Because here's the thing, those first 3 steps, trash, obvious trash, not things you're deciding is trash, but just trash. Easy stuff that you already know what to do with. You don't have to figure out what to do with it. You just got to do it. And obvious donations. Those all 3 are no decision. They are decision free. There are no decisions to make. They do not require emotional energy. They might require some physical energy to do the thing, but they don't require emotional energy. So I would do that. Start with trash, easy stuff, and obvious donations. And then that may help you clarify and feel a lot more justified in doing the actual finishing of the project. What to do when declutter a space and another member of the family puts stuff there? If they put things there, most likely that is something to be dealt with in a 5-minute pickup. Okay. So do a 5-minute pickup because the reality is free space gets unfreed real fast, right? Like that's just, it's life. It's part of living. It is not something to get furious about. And I'm saying that as someone who, it used to frustrate me so much because I was like, I just did this and then it got messed up and it just made me feel like it was also hopeless, right? And impossible. But instead to think of it as, wait a minute, that is not a real decluttering project now. It is most likely easy stuff. Okay. To go put it where it belongs, whatever. So really zero in on the 5-minute pickups in there. Potentially, if you're able to involve the rest of the family, depending on what the relationship is and all that, but involve the rest of the family in the 5-minute pickups, that's really powerful, right? So that you can have those conversations. Like we talked about with the toddler earlier. Yes, you are directing in that. It's the same way, even when they're not toddlers, right? Especially in the beginning of when you're starting this habit or this routine of the 5-minute pickup. Really zero in on those 5-minute pickups to keep the space cleared. The other thing too is to give it a real, actual, purpose there, because that will help as well. Let's see. Yes, we talked about my leg and we're talking about legs hurting when it's time to do a 5-minute pickup. Growing pains are real. I don't ever want to say that they're not, because I know one of my kids really experienced that. However, some of the leg pain that happens when it's time to do a 5-minute pickup, mamas know, right? Let's see. In-laws want help decluttering for the 7th time. Usually I help haul stuff, but I think I'm enabling them because it's easy to keep everything when they don't have to do the hard part. How to not enable. I don't know. Maybe talk to them about that. Like if this is a continual regathering of stuff, I would really focus in on the function of the space and the function of, zeroing in on like why, if we're decluttering in a living space, okay. And this is another reason to really zero in on those living spaces first, as opposed to the storage type spaces. Go with the living spaces and really zero in on, we are decluttering this for the purpose of function, right? And yeah, that. Let's see. We switched from, so y'all are talking about the pods, the dishwasher pods. I saw some people talking about that. From a name brand dishwasher liquid to the same brand's pods, and the difference with the pods is profound. I know. I mean, like I get it. I get the hesitation in paying more for the pods and the tabs and all that. Like we're talking about not laundry, dishwasher detergent. It's profound. Like buy the smallest thing of it, just again with the non-committal experimentation. Just see, is this going to make a difference? Because I know somebody was saying like, I think it's a scam that they say they're better. I have nothing to gain from telling you that in my own experience, it makes a huge difference. And I don't like that. Like I like to believe that the off-brand is the same, and it is just absolutely not true with the dishwasher detergent. So let's see. Some more things about that. I started using the best pods Cascade for me and made myself, this is Jennifer talking at me, because I just said I don't care which ones you use. I made myself test some things without pre-rinsing, and I've been pleasantly surprised. Also use the highest temp and the strongest cycle. Absolutely. Let's see. I have a question. A lot of times I feel like I literally can't clean it all. I feel unable to clean. How do I work past that? Break it down, because I think clean feels like, so watch my layers of a clean house video. That one will be really helpful in that, because I thought cleaning was all of it. And in reality, what I thought I was cleaning, what I was actually doing was catching up on all the stuff that I should have been doing every day that then doesn't get out of control if I'm doing it every day. And I was also dealing with a whole lot more stuff than I could possibly handle. Like things didn't have places. And so watch the layers of a clean house video first on that. And then start with the dishes. Like instead of thinking of it as I have to clean my whole house, instead just say, I'm going to do the dishes. And then I'm going to do them tomorrow. And then I'm going to do them again. And then I'm going to do them again. Actually, I don't want to say I'm going to do them tomorrow. Say, I'm going to do the dishes. And then tomorrow say, I'm going to do the dishes again. And then tomorrow after that, say, I'm going to do the dishes. Instead of thinking of the future, think of what you can do right now. It's really powerful. Even if you just do the dishes. If you don't know what to do the dishes. Let's see. To declutter, I roll 5 dice, add up the total. That is the day's toss. Donate and give away the number. I love it. That's awesome. Okay, let's see. Hebs is finally helping declutter, but because I keep track of everything, he has to keep asking if he can get rid of something, or he thinks he can, and then it's actually something we were using. Tips. I would default to be happy that he's decluttering and don't do anything to discourage that. That's what I would do. I would be like, okay, we may have to live without this, or we might have to replace this item. But in the same way that for my talking to myself, I say, you know what? I might have to replace this item in the future, and yet it's worth the replacement cost, which actually rarely ends up happening, right? I rarely end up actually after having to replace it. But even if I did have to replace it for $40, that it is well worth that $40 for this space to be clear. And I would shift that thinking into this situation. Okay. Let's see. What if there's things that should be trash, but you can't throw it out? I live in a rented flat and the closet doors are broken, but if we toss them, we'll have to pay for them. I would not let that thing trip you up, and I would skip it, right? Because it's a difficult situation. It should be trash. I hate this thing. It drives me bananas, but I can't get rid of it because I'm going to have to, okay, skip it. Because the problem is so many times when we hit something like that, where you're like, this is an impossible thing. I want to get rid of this so badly, but I also know that such and such reason, whatever it is, that I can't. Okay, but what tends to happen for the person who is already maybe struggles with clutter, like me, right, is that kind of thing makes me go, oh, okay, I can't do it. Where instead, what I really need to do is just skip that item. Okay, let's see. Hey, Baby Texan says, first time I made it live. Love it. Sarah says, I'm so mad that the tabs really are better. I get it. Like Yeah, that's why we've had this conversation, right? I have a podcast about it, but there's a real link between frugality and clutter. I'm just saying it. And I'm saying this for myself, right? It is not hard for me to save money. It is not hard for me to shop a deal and find the best price. And I mean, like, where there are a lot of people who struggle with that, I don't struggle with finding the best price, but I do struggle with clutter. And there is a very much a relationship there. Okay. How to do the decluttering questions if your brain is not consistent and you would not always look in the same place for something. I think it's where is the first place where you would look, and go with that. But here's the thing. If you start analyzing, you're doing it wrong. Go with the first place that pops in your head. Go ahead and do it. Okay. And there is a possibility that you will look in 2 other places before you find that. And yet that is still so much better than it being in a rando place because you just didn't know, because here's the thing. When I say, where would I look for it first? I am not saying that about things that I know where they would be. I'm saying that about things that I have no idea where it would be, that I assume if I was going to look for this, I would be tearing my house apart looking for it. So put it in the first place that pops in your mind right now of where I would look for it. And the majority of times, you're going to find it in the first place where you look for it. Even if it's the third place where you look for it, so much better than spending 3 hours tearing your house apart. And then that time, you know what? Where was the first place that I looked for it? And do that. And then it starts to build this confidence in your instincts. Let's see. Do you have suggestions for applying your method to running errands or doing tasks outside the house? Thank you for all you do. I do. I mean, like, I hear from a lot of you, and there might be a book coming at some point as well about this, right? Like, is how do you apply the suggestions? Well, first of all, it's do the easy stuff first. Like, that is basically the core of those first 3 steps of the decluttering process. It is very easy to think, no, I need to do the hard thing first. But the hard thing is the reason we were procrastinating in the first place, right? And so I can't do that. I need to do the easy stuff first. Like, what is something out of this whole thing that I just have to get done? Right? Like, what is something that's small that I can do completely that moves me forward in my whole goal? But that's a lot to talk about. Let's see. What would you say to encourage someone halfway there and no end in sight? I would encourage you by saying, you're halfway there. Like, when your goal is better as opposed to a perfectly decluttered home, you have made a ton of progress. If you're halfway there to whatever, like, there's no way to be halfway there to better, because every little thing you do achieves the goal of better, right? So I would say shift your goal to better and go, I have made my house so much better. I would also say zero in on those living spaces. If you have been working on storage spaces, obscure spaces, it's harder to be encouraged by the work that you have done. If you will zero in on those living areas first, there is so much power in continuing that motivation with that. Okay. I'm going to remind you that my new book is out. This is the spiritual side of my dislobification process. Yes, it is. This is not a book about decluttering. It's a book about Jesus. Okay. So anyway, that's in the title because I don't want anybody to be blindsided, but my other books don't have spiritual content because, well, this book talks about why they don't have spiritual content, right? But I think for a lot of us, especially Christian women, it tends to be a real shame issue when your house is such a struggle. So that's what this book goes into. Available wherever books are sold. Most libraries, if your library doesn't have it, request it. Okay, let's see. Oh, one more thing on this one. To encourage someone halfway there with no end in sight. There is no end. And I know that that feels like it's not encouraging, but it actually is encouraging, because knowing that I was never going to be done made me feel like it was not a failure to not be done yet. Right? Because I was like, oh, being done is not a thing with decluttering. Okay. Oh, I love this. I'm a hoarder in therapy, and she takes notes from me as I explain your method. I've been working on trash for 3 months, and even one piece is progress, but it is addicting. Can't thank you enough. I love it. I love it. Love it. Let's see. Dana, are you saving this podcast by chance? I love listening to you, but I got to put the baby down for now. These are always all saved. Also, these are not my podcasts. These are the live Q&As. The podcasts come out here on YouTube on Saturday mornings. They come out on all the podcasting platforms on Thursdays, and those are audio only. Let's see. Somebody's asking, okay, Kathy's asking, is it the same difference on laundry detergent? I don't know that it's the same difference on pods necessarily for laundry detergent, but I will say that there is a big difference in laundry detergents. Like definitely, they often will have those real small ones, like maybe at Dollar Tree or something. Sometimes Dollar Tree will have, and I'm not saying for sure because I haven't been there in a long time, but a lot of times they'll have like a teeny tiny package of some like nice name brand thing, but for the super cheap. Try some of those like almost as a sample and see. But yeah, there is a difference for sure in that. But as far as the pods, I haven't noticed that necessarily. Let's see. We lost our home in a fire. Is that 2 that we've had today? Goodness gracious, I'm sorry. We're staying in a house temporarily. I'm trying to stay within the container concept, but every time I think of getting something, I get an anxiety attack. Any suggestions? Well, I do think that might be something. You've been through some major trauma. It probably would be a situation where a mental health professional might be of more help than I would. As far as yeah, that's what I'm going to recommend there, because I don't think I'm qualified to answer that. Okay. Margaret says, I'm so jealous. My husband will be in the Dallas area when you're doing your book signing. I'll be home in Virginia. I suggested that he bring your books to me to get signed. I love it. Oh, thank you for bringing that up, Margaret. If you are in the Dallas area, a week from today, I will be at Interrobang Books at 6:00. That's February 25th. So that's a week from today. I will be there signing books and also doing like a Q&A. So yeah, it'll be fun. Please come. I don't want nobody to show up. I'll be so embarrassed. Okay, let's see. I can do a couple more. So if you don't even have a place, can you create one? I do not create places. I identify places with the question, where would I look for this first? And then I take it there now, and I've identified the place, because here's the problem. I used to come up with a great place and then not be able to find anything. And then that made me not ever want to get organized, because it made it worse, right? But instead, I would take it to the place where what I do now is I take it to the place where I would look for it first, based on instinct, not analysis. And the way you create the space for it in that place that you have identified according to where you would look for it first. Okay. So meaning if this is where I would look for it first and there's no room for it, I have to remove something in order to make the room for it. And ideally, I'm going to remove trash or an obvious donation, because those things can go in the trash or the donate box. And that takes me back to the space where I was originally working. Let's see. Dana, I think you're so right about the connection between clutter and frugality. Maybe why I have 2 very pretty empty boxes I have not thrown away yet. Maybe another book in you. There's a big link. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. How do I get labels off of prescription bottles? They're taking over my space. I would YouTube that because I don't have the answer for it. I mean, I'll slap some peanut butter on something when I need to get the gummy goo off, but yeah, I guarantee you there is a YouTube video on that. Okay, I just have to tell you all a YouTube video story. This is years ago. So I'm sorry, I don't remember who did it, but I had these jeans, favorite jeans, that the zipper kept falling down. And I was like, oh, but they were great. But I could not get the zipper to stay up. And so I couldn't wear them. And so I was like, it felt like this unsolvable problem, right? And then I searched on YouTube for how to get the zipper to stay up. Y'all, this person said to take one of those keyring loops, those metal keyring loops, and put it through the little opening at the end of the zipper tongue thing, right? And then you zip them up, you hook that loopy-doop thing over your the button at the top of your jeans, at the waist of your jeans, and then you button them normally. Y'all, it changed my life when I was like, I can wear my favorite jeans now. That's what I'm saying. YouTube, Google it. Like so many times, because here's the thing. We have talked, we talk so many times about these things that are stopping us from decluttering. That's what so many of these questions are here. So I'm not in any way saying, oh, get over it. Oh, whatever, but so many times there are easy solutions. It felt like an impossible problem when I could not get the zipper to stay up on my jeans, right? Like I thought it was going to be putting in a new zipper. I didn't know how to put in a new zipper. Who do you get to do that? Now I know you go to the dry cleaners and they usually have somebody that they use to do that kind of stuff. But it just felt like this big, impossible problem. And there are solutions for that. So that is a valid use of your decluttering time and energy. The looking it up on YouTube and say, what's the best way to, I mean, I know I just saw something recently where somebody used a hair dryer or whatever. I have no idea to like melt things, labels and things off. I don't know if that works or not. I'm not saying it does, but it is a valid use of your time to both look it up and to experiment with it, because otherwise they're taking over your space, these prescription bottles, right? And the thing that's keeping you from just getting rid of them is the labels on them that you want to get rid of. Okay, then finding out how to do that is actually decluttering, because it's the thing that allows you to go on. Let's see. Okay, I've got time for maybe one more. What do I do with wet or damp kitchen towels? I am hesitant to toss them into the bin, so they sit on my laundry room floor. Okay. Sorry about that. I throw them into the washing machine with the lid up, and I just go ahead and throw them straight into the washing machine. Now, I'm saying that as someone whose washing machine is now actually available for that all the time. And then I just wash them with whatever's coming next. I know there was a time where that was not a possibility because I didn't have laundry under control. And so who knew what was in the washing machine and if it needed to be rewashed because of how long it had been sitting there and all that kind of stuff, right? But yeah, that's what I do. Okay. All right. I need to end now because it is 1 o'clock, as my alarm just reminded me. It was not an alarm for this, but for something else. Okay. This has been really fun. And if you're watching this right now, like on the day it comes out, you can still go to aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus right now. Okay. Because we're going to send out the emails tomorrow. I'm planning on it could be one more day after that, but still, like tomorrow or the next day is when those emails are going to go out. And so if you want to be invited to the private Q&As that are divided up according to I'm all in, I've got questions, or I'm out. Like, oh no. On the subject matter, okay, then you can fill out that pre-order bonus form now. You obviously don't need the pre-order bonus of the preview because you'll actually have the book because it is out now. But you can do that. And if you're in Dallas, pretty please come to my book signing event a week from today at 6:00 at Interrobang Books. All right. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.